So I'm joined here in the Fratton Park boardroom by Stephan, who's the grandson of the Pompey manager George Smith, who was manager between 1961 and 1970, and also George Smith's daughter, Lynda Shearing. Lynda, you've come down from Lincoln, I believe, and Stephan's come from the United Arab Emirates. So they're having a tour of Fratton Park to take them on a trip down memory lane, and they've also brought along with them some bits and bobs from kind of George's collection. And we've got this magnificent replica trophy on the right hand side, which is in the club's trophy cabinet, which is the third division that Portsmouth won in 1962. And I think you've got a team picture there, Stephan. Perhaps you can kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we've got a few of these. I think we've got one from every year, and obviously this is one of the early ones, and that's the original trophy. This is the replica. So that's a happy time for the club when my granddad's just been there for a season, I guess, and they've just got promotion from the third division south, I think.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, and is that the medal there that we've got in the?
This is his medal. Yeah. On the back here it says G.C. Smith, manager.
Manager, fantastic.
Of the winning team from the Football League.
And I think shortly after that he was kind of like given a new contract, a 5-year contract, which I think you've also got that there, haven't you? So that's when was that signed?
This was signed about 2 months after I was born, 1962. This is a 5-year contract, I presume as a reward for the promotion. And we were just looking at it a short time ago. One of the nice things here that we noticed was section 3, which he has circled, where it states that the directors of the club will give Mr. Smith all reasonable assistance to enable him to perform his duties under this agreement. So I think he's making it clear that he expects money at the right time, and anything else that he might require in terms of facilities, maybe. I don't know.
And I think at that particular time, Portsmouth were a club that didn't have a great deal of money in the 1960s, and George not only was a coach with a terrific reputation, sort of like nationally, he was also quite innovative in his thoughts about how the club should be structured. And then we've got an interesting team picture there, haven't we, from the 1967, is it?
Is that this one?
That one there, yes, for sure.
This is currently in an exhibition at the University of Portsmouth Ravelin Sports Centre. This is the picture that they've used, and I think this is the time just after they've axed the second team, the reserve team and the youth team.
Exactly.
Which has always been controversial in Pompey history. I think there are reasons behind it and people have got their opinions, but I think the way we look back at it is that they had to do it at the time, and he did his best for the club.
And Lynda, I think there was a bit of debate as to whether this was the board of directors forcing him to do it, or whether it was his own decision. I mean, you were his daughter, you were around at the time. What's your recollection?
No, it's absolutely that it was his decision to do that. Absolutely, yes.
And I think that particular photograph there was from the 1967-68 season, and I think there's another photograph just behind it, by a famous photographer from the Daily Mirror.
Yeah, this has always been one of my favourites, actually. I've not always known the historical background. I mean, I didn't know until you told me that this was quite a big game, Pompey versus Fulham. But even I had heard of the name Montefresco, a very famous sports photographer from the 60s. And what I love about this picture is how my granddad's got everyone really engaged and laughing. Mm-hmm. They're all obviously with him in the team spirit, and as I think you just told me, Colin, that they won the game. Although I don't know what the tactics were looking at that particular blackboard diagram, but obviously a good time for the club there.
It certainly was, and I think George always had a bit of a reputation as a disciplinarian as well, didn't he? And there's a picture here, I think it's the signing of a player called Dave Monks, who arrived at Fratton Park from Sheffield United, who of course were one of George's clubs. Tell us about haircuts, Stephan.
Okay, so I kind of remember this particular signing because David, who I understand is still around, he was asked to get his hair cut, as that was part of the process of joining the club, and I had to suffer the same thing. Every summer we came to stay, and of course at that time long hair was a fashion, and so I had to get my hair cut as well. Until actually one summer when I said I didn't want my hair cut, and he'd driven up from Portsmouth to Basingstoke, and my mum backed me up, and we ended up not coming down to Portsmouth because my mum said he's not getting his hair cut.
Yeah, he turned the car around, took us back home.
Never,
We were due for a week's holiday.
What a night! Yeah. And it's always lovely to be in Southsea, isn't it? As well as we know, the sun always shines.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was
shame.
a fantastic granddad. He was a bit strict sometimes, but he was fantastic. If I can divert from football, one of the things we loved was we used to go to Hayling Island, and he used to chuck coins on the beach and tell us, look out for coins washed up from France. And it took us years before we caught him throwing the coins. So whatever people think of him as his Sergeant Major image, it was a really warm, lovely granddad.
And I mean, Lynda, obviously, kind of growing up in a football household as you would have done. I think you said that you remember particularly his time when he was at Crystal Palace, sort of like before he came to Portsmouth. I mean, what are your recollections of living with George in the same house?
I had great fun. I was 18 at the time, and my friend and I, we used to annoy all the girls. The girls used to stand outside the players' entrance, and we just used to walk straight in, and I just used to love that because they used to hate us. And my dad gave us 2 tickets, season tickets, for me and my friend. But I used to go into the director's box and take my friend into the director's box, and I gave my 2 tickets to the owner of the jazz club that I used to go to in Croydon. So he was very happy. I used to go into the jazz club free, and he had the season tickets, and I was in the director's box with my friend. So I don't know whether Dad knew that or not.
I think it was a perk of being involved in the football world, wasn't it? Really, for sure.
Sorry to interrupt.
Go on.
Just talking about the director's box has reminded me. We were walking along the South Sea, first time for maybe 50 years for us. And I saw a plaque for Sir Alec Rose, and I remember being in the director's box. That was 68, I think, maybe, when he'd come back from his circumnavigation, and he was the guest of honour, and I got to shake his hand, and always remembered the name, and that was just something I remember from my childhood.
Fantastic. And I think you said as well about kind of like George being good friends with Jimmy Dickinson as well.
They were very, very tight together, I think. They worked a lot together.
And probably let's talk about the final thing that we've got, which is a letter over there, which is probably saving the best till last. But perhaps you just want to talk us through this letter, Stephan.
I was very excited when I found this. This is from Field Marshal the Viscount Montgomery of El Alamein, April 62. He says, "My dear Smith, I ordered you to get 4 points at Easter, but I'll be content with 3. And then he's congratulating the team and my grandfather on getting out of the 3rd division, which in his words was completely a wrong place for a famous team. It's a very nice letter. He compliments my grandfather, and then he gives him his orders for what he's supposed to do in the coming seasons. But he didn't give him any money, so.
Excellent, and that brings us nicely back roundly to the trophy, which is here in the Fratton Park trophy cabinet. And of course, last season Pompey won League One, which is the equivalent of the 3rd division back in those days. So football is a circular kind of thing in that way, and I think it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here at Portsmouth, and hopefully we'll get you to a game next time. Unfortunately, weren't able to do that this time, but next time let's do a game at Fratton Park. Thank you again.
Lovely.
Thanks,
That'd be
Colin.
lovely.
It's been
Thank
really
you very
fantastic
much.
to come down.
Yeah, thanks, Colin.